Hello everyone, Lady Joyful here from the Joyful Soul Create. Today the new Cupcake Inspiration Challenge goes live and our new theme is floral. So I'm going to be making an Emboss Resist floral card using these stamps from the cat's Pajamas. This stamp set is called Big Blooms. I have some watercolour paper which I've cut down to the size of my card front, and I'm just positioning the poppy stamps from the set into my MISTI on the card front, and I am also going to use the Hello sentiment from the same stamp set, which is a very scripty sentiment. I'm using my MISTI to line them up because watercolour paper is quite textured and I want to make sure I can get a very good impression, which means I'm going to double stamp it, and using the MISTI ensures that the stamping will line up properly when I do the second stamping. First I'll treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. This just removes any greases or anything that would make the embossing powder stick where I don't want it. Then I will use embossing ink, which is a clear sticky ink for embossing, and coat my stamps and stamp that down onto my watercolour paper. This is Canson watercolour paper. I double stamped that off camera. And then I am now going to apply my embossing powder, which is gold embossing powder, and I will make sure that completely covers the sentiment and both of the flowers, and tip the excess back into the pot. I'll just add a little bit extra anywhere that needs it, and carefully tap off any excess from the panel. I will also use a paintbrush to remove any extra bits, and then I heat set that off camera. Then I'm going to start painting my panel. First I laid down a wash of just clean water all over the panel with a very large brush. Then I'm using a slightly smaller brush to pick up some red paint straight from the palette and just applying it all over the area that I had added water to. I probably should have stuck with the larger brush, actually it would have been easier to get the wash of colour down, but I was concerned it wouldn't fit into the paint palette. So once I'd got the paint down, I dried it with my heat tool. I could have let it dry, air dry, but I was trying to be quick, so I sped it up with my heat tool. And then I will go back in again and add some more paint and just keep building up the layers, building up the colour until I'm happy with it. I'm using a very slightly damp paper towel to remove any paint from on top of my embossing, just to keep that clean. And then, as I said, I'll go back in with some more paint. I started off using just one of the reds that comes in the palette, the cooler red, and I also added in some of the warmer kind of orangey red as well, and I did slightly mix the two colours as well to make my own shade. And I just kept adding the colours and drying between layers and building it up until I was happy with it. So now I'm drying here for the final time, I believe. It's very wet at this stage, so it takes quite a while to get it completely dry. And whilst I'm doing that, I will tell you about the challenge. This week we're being sponsored by Birch Press Design, who are providing a $20 gift certificate to one lucky winner. So if you come and play along at the Cupcake Inspiration Challenge, there'll be a link in the description box below. One random player will receive the gift certificate, so it's worth coming to play. So now I'm going to adhere my watercolour panel to my card base. I've covered the whole card base with some double-sided tape, very sticky double-sided tape, because the panel's slightly warped, so I want to make sure it sticks properly. I'm using my MISTI to help me line up the watercolour panel to make sure I get it in the right place, but I was still having some trouble. I'm not very good at adding panels on straight, they always seem to end up wonky. And then I'm pressing it down well, making sure there are no bubbled up areas, really pressing it all into place on that double-sided tape. Then I decided I wanted to add just a few sequins to the card to finish it off. I found this selection of sequins and picked out some red ones. Just fiddling around trying to decide how many I want and where to place them. It's always a good idea to use an odd number and place them in a visual triangle. That's the most appealing to the eye. And then I will, I'm just holding the card flat to make it easier to stick everything down, and I'm going to use my glossy accents. The tip always seems to get clogged, so I keep an old needle attached to the bottle and I just use that. Each time I use the glossy accents, I use the needle to unclog the tip so that I can use it more easily. And I also have, you may be able to see there, I made myself a pickup tool to be able to pick up the sequins. It's just a cocktail stick with some Tombow Multi-Mono on the end of it. Works well enough, but I will probably buy myself a pickup tool at some point. So anyway, that's the completed card. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you'll come along and join us at the Cupcake Inspiration Challenge. If you're new to the channel, I hope you'll click the subscribe button. Here are a couple of more videos you might be interested in, and I will see you again in the next video. Thanks, bye.